One more thing about style with harmonica, everybody develops their own signature sort of style after they play a while, and mine kind of turned out to be more of a country blues thing than electric, although I played plenty of electric stuff. Um, but that's partly because I began playing in cafes and stuff, and then began to play. Well, I met a man named Eagle Park Slim, Audrey McNeese, in Denver, Colorado. Actually, he played a gig at a place called the Stage Stop, where I was working in the summer of '79. It was an original old stagecoach place, and his band, Mile High Blues Band, was playing there, and I sat in with him. And he came from near East St. Louis, Eagle Park, Illinois, and he we got to be friends. I did an interview with him, actually published it in the Rocky Mountain News, Denver, one of the Denver papers, and we just stayed in touch. And then he came out to Eugene, Oregon, where I was going to college for a while, and actually graduated from there in a degree in speech or theater, actually, to be honest. Playwriting emphasis, meaning zero money ahead of me. But anyway, I liked doing it, and Slim came out there in the spring of 1980, and then and we just began working in the cafes. He was more of a songster, but he really did well. He stayed there for years and years and years. Played the streets there, and the fairs, and the I lived in Seattle, Pike Place Market. He kind of became a real fixture of the Northwest scene. It was very cool. He was doing okay in Denver, I guess, but he just liked it better up in the Northwest. Anyway, so I played with him, and then I played. Let's see, that was about 80, 81, and then and shortly thereafter, I met R.L. Burnside in '81 at his home in Coldwater, Mississippi, and we stayed in touch. And then in '82, he came out for a tour on the West Coast, and we played in Oregon and California. And he invited me to play with him. I thought I was just going to be driving him, though I had played with him at his house in that fall before. Anyway, and then I had a roommate back in those days in Eugene. We lived in a place called the Whale House, and about 5 or 6 of us lived in this old 1900s type house, and I think the rent was like $35 a night. And I lived there the year before I moved to New Orleans. And the night that before I moved, Ken Kesey, the writer of Sometimes a Great Notion and When Flew the Cuckoo's Nest, well, his cousins, they're from Eugene area, and I had played music with Rich and Rod cousins, Kesey, alright, and so he was kicked back against my car. I was loading up to go to New Orleans, and they'd come to a party that my roommates were having, he and a guy named Ken Babs, and they had something called the Merry Pranksters, which was back in the 60s, I guess late 50s, and early 70s, that I don't know, it was going on then, early 80s, so, but it was part of the crazy stuff that they did, they would, not quite sure what, but Ken Kesey, his brother owned a creamery in Springfield near Eugene, and it was pretty cool. I mean, he was just kicked back against my car talking to a skinhead, and I was loading it up to go to New Orleans, and I said, "Oh, hi, I know your cousin, so I play with him and stuff," and he was very laid back. And if nobody's heard of him, or if anybody's heard of him, I highly recommend his books. The two main books are Sometimes a Great Notion and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Unfortunately, we lost him some years ago. I guess he's buried in a rainbow-colored casket near the Coburg Hills, not too far from Eugene. But he was part of that whole beat scene in the 1950s, late 50s and 60s. And Neil Cassidy from Jack Kerouac days. He drove this bus all over the place, I guess down in Mexico, and they called the bus Further, and I guess it's still on their property. But anyway, it was an interesting experience meeting him there, like that. And unfortunately, his cousins died of one of suicide and one of horrible liver failure. I had met him in the methadone clinic, and we didn't recognize each other at first, and then we did, and that's very sad. He just didn't get the interferon or whatever it took to possibly save his life, and I heard from people that he died in extreme pain. So doing these drugs and thinking you're not going to get caught up, they're not going to catch up with you. Well, they do, and believe me, with my leg problems and my own problems with Hep B, and I got through that with interferon, I can tell you, it's no joke. And if anybody has the decision whether they want to shoot dope or not, stay away from it if you possibly can. But anyway, I'm talking about the signature of developing your signature with your harmonica, and or any instrument. But so if you're just in the middle of feeling like you're learning, I mean, everybody learns constantly, but it's just that when you keep playing in certain situations, then you develop more of that style. Like I said, mine was more the country blues stuff because I was in that situation. I wound up touring with R.L. for years, and another man named Eddie Burns, but he was more of an electric player. But we did do duo stuff, and I like playing electric. I surely do. I got the microphones for it. There's a little Avast taxi mic, they call it, and the typical harmonica half eggshell kind of mics that electric players have. But also those Shure 57s, they work really great for, I think Paul Butterfield played with the Shure 57. Anyway, in contrast to like a Shure 58, which is more for vocals. But I don't know much about equipment. I know what works, and I had more input into equipment when I was playing more in bands, and one of the things like maybe a delay, occasional delay or something. But yeah, you develop your style, and however it comes out, depending on what what you're doing for getting gigs, or what you're doing now, I guess these days, with what kind of stuff you want to play to and put out, on the internet or whatever. But it just happens over time. Okay, I'll catch up with you later with some more music, okay? But I just wanted to throw this at y'all right now. Good night, babies. I'm talking to my parents. Nah, you guys too. Good night, y'all. Have a good morning, evening, night, wherever y'all are. Bye-bye.